Namaste, everyone.
Namaste, good morning.
Good morning. All well?
Yes, and you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Great. So let's. Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me?
Yeah. Any doubts? Any? Anything you need to ask? Begin
No.
today's session. Back.
Yesterday I wasn't there because some family work to do. So I looked at the video on YouTube. It's okay. It's okay, but thank you. Sorry.
Okay. There was some issue yesterday with Zoom also. We weren't able to access Zoom. So some classes took place, some didn't because of that issue.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for. It's really hard. I think it's hard for you because Alice, but it's okay. Thank you very much.
Is today's our class?
Sorry?
Today is our last class, 200-hour course?
26.
On 26th. Okay, anatomy was the last one today. That's why I thought this is also last.
Yeah, so he'll take exams differently. We are going to give assignments, so varies from teacher to teacher.
Okay. So when you'll give us assignment?
We'll be ending on 26th.
Sorry?
On 26th.
Okay,
on 26th.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So let's
your
start.
classes, then I'll just keep it here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's begin.
Yep.
Yeah. So back neck straight. Just close your eyes. And start observing your breath. Just staying connected with breath. Be in your posture and keep yourselves completely aligned. And just observe breath. And when you feel ready, just begin to deepen the breath. Calm the mind and go for deep breathing. And once you get comfortable with the deep breathing, you can start adding kumbhak or internal retention, just holding the breath in for 2 seconds and then going for exhalation. We'll chant Om one time, followed by the mantra. Exhale completely and inhale for Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Join both the palms together in front of the chest and rub both the palms. Place them on the eyes. And slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open the eyes, come back with a smile. And namaste to everyone. Let us begin today's session. So we were discussing vrittis yesterday, right? We were working on the vrittis, and we had discussed the first two vrittis. Vrittis were the mental modifications. So when we did the definition of yoga, we did certain mental modifications, and vrittis were those mental modifications. So yesterday we completed the first two, Praman and Viparya. And today we are going to delve into the third one, which is Vikalp. Vikalpa. Or imagination. Yeah. So Patanjali ji gave 5 vrittis, and this is the third one out of them. And when he talked of Vikalp or imagination, he was actually trying to refer to the impression that is formed on the mind when there is no object. So in Praman, there was a real object. When we came to Viparya, it was a false object. And when we come to Vikalp, there is no object. Okay, so the presence of no object, and even then there is an impression that is being formed on the mind. So that impression, the vritti that the name that he gave to that impression was, okay. So let's of this thing, like there are multiple examples that I can think of when I think of this vritti. So for the sake of simplicity, the most famous example for this would be any fiction that has ever been written. So like I always take the example of Harry Potter and Hogwarts. Yeah. So when J.K. Rowling wrote like about a wizard boy, and the wizarding world. So reality in real no world like that. However, when we read the book, there are certain impressions that are formed on the mind. when we watch the movie, when we watch any movie, there is still a modification that is being formed in our mind. When we watch any movie which has no basis or life existing, okay, currently we do not know if life exists or not, but we make it out in a fictional way, right? That this is how this thing would be. So whenever you watch the movie, there is still a modification that is being formed in your mind. So whenever you watch the mind, there is still a modification when you are absorbing that information. Another very good example of this is unicorns. Now whenever I say this word, there is some image that is being formed in your mind. When I said Harry Potter, there is some image that is being formed in your mind. Okay, so that is information which is out there, and your mind is absorbing that or understanding that. Whenever you come across it, there is some impression that is being formed in the mind. However, those things have no basis in reality. They do not exist, right? Because I would love to have a unicorn around here, but I have never seen one. But there is still an image that comes in my mind. Okay, so that imagination, this is actually a very beautiful, power of the mind, and it can also go in a very destructive manner, like in a very dark way. Also, it can take a channel. However, it is actually a very good ability of the human mind to be able to imagine something. Yeah. So I do not need the existence of something to be there in order for me to, imagine. I can imagine certain things, and all of you also, everybody can imagine things. So that is, of course, a beautiful part of the human mind. But again, it is a vritti that is being formed in the chip. Okay. So it is something that when you walk on the path of yoga, you will be, cessation of this thing is what the point of yoga is. And on the path, you will be coming more in touch with reality. So that is what you're saying. Okay, my voice is breaking.
You're back now. We can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That is what was happening. Is it better?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so I was talking about imagination, basically, that it is a beautiful like ability of the human mind. However, it can also it can come to a point where it will not keep you in touch with reality. Okay, so that is where it gets really dangerous when when you lose touch with reality. That is when this vritti like can be very harmful to you. So when you walk on the path of you come more and more in touch with reality. So you start coming out of this vritti a lot. When we have those aha moments also, those are us coming actually in touch with reality. And because for so long we have been disconnected from that reality of who we are, what our life has been, it comes in as a realization. Like that is what the realization is, because we are constantly living in this imaginary uh, you know world that we have created in our mind. Okay, so all of when you start coming more in touch with who you are or what your life is, that is when you have major realizations. That is why, when people are, especially people who are in spiritual practices, they are very much in touch with themselves. And you would see that a lot of people make a lot of drastic changes when they come to certain realizations in their lives, because now they are actually able, because with the help of meditation, because of meditation only mostly, they are able to get in touch with what their reality is and how they can navigate through their reality and make the most out of whatever there is. So you will see a lot of people make very drastic changes because of that. So imagination can be looked at in multiple ways when I talk of this. So it's not only like when I give you an example of an object which has no real basis, it is easier to understand that. But in our own lives also, we are living in some imaginations that we have formed for ourselves. So understanding this vritti in your own context, when you see that, okay, this was my imagination of this thing happening or not happening, that is when you start to break out of it. So it will help you much more if you are able to personalize it. Giving external examples and understanding it that way is pretty easy. However, it is more impactful when it is like observed personally. Okay, so any doubts in imagination, this Tripti?
No.
No doubt. Oh, okay. So let's move to the next one then. We will come to Nidra or sleep. Yeah. So the first three vrittis actually exist in your conscious state of mind. So the conscious mind, whenever I'm like in touch with my senses, right, or perceiving some information from outside, or perceiving any form of information, uh, well, that is when I can categorize it either in the category of right information, wrong information, or false information, right? So false knowledge. So but according to Patanjali ji, even when you go to sleep, that is also a vritti. Okay, so that state of sleep is also, in that state also there is modification in constantly impressions being formed in the mind. So right now we are not like, we're still working on the conscious level. So he said that it is much more deeper. you know when you are in sleep also, there are certain impressions that are being formed on the in the chitta, and these, like, you have to work first on this level, and then you have to come to a level where even that impression that is being formed during sleep is now eradicated. Okay, so like when we dream, there are, like, of course we are cut off from the external world when we sleep. Yeah. However, there are still, like, we still have uh, whatever you experience in your day-to-day waking state. When you go into the dreaming state, that thing is reflected back. So you would see a lot of times, like on a lot of occasions, your dreams will actually draw their basis from the reality that you experience. Suppose you're not able to solve something, or you want to change something in your reality, so in your dream you will actually be able to change it, or it will present itself in a very different form, or whatever you are craving that will come up in your dream. So this is all like during this entire process, some mental modification is actually taking place, so that image comes in your mind when you are dreaming, right? So sometimes we are chasing someone in the dream, sometimes we are running. So all of these things, like, generally you would see some commonality in your dreams and your day-to-day world also. So some part of your dream will be connected to reality. So whatever you perceive in your waking state, when you go in your sleeping state, that thing is still being modified, and it is still leaving an impression on the chip. So that activity also ceases to exist. You do. That does happen. When you watch TV, so Anushaji has written, when you watch too much TV shows, you start dreaming yourself as the character there. Yeah. So that does happen, especially if you connect a lot with the character or with the TV show in general. Like, that's the thing about human beings in general. We look for connection. So when you connect with some character a lot, or you connect with the storyline of the series, that is when you will see, like, in your mind when you are dreaming, going in that state, then it will come much more. Like, it would be different if you don't connect with some movie or character. So, like, then it might just come up one or two times. But if you connect a lot, then you will have multiple, like, a TV series will be formed in your mind also. Like, you are going through multiple adventures in your mind. So when you are in the process of yoga, you work on this vritti also. So there the impression is not being formed on the chit, it's not leaving an impression. Okay, so yogi, like, it is generally said that when the world sleeps, the yogi remains awake. So this is what is being talked of when this quote is generally used. This is what is being talked of. He is aware of each and everything that is happening, and there is, like, even in his sleep, the yogi is, first thing, yogis do not sleep a lot, they do not require a lot of sleep. However, in their sleep also they have this level of awareness, and that is why when Patanjali ji also explained the vritti of sleep, he said it is very important to understand this vritti, because this vritti is very similar to the state of samadhi. When you go into this vritti, you have cut off from all the external objects, so you are directly in the state of pratyahar. Okay, so you close your eyes, you relax your body. When you sleep, you generally, if there is, like, unless and until there is too loud a sound around you, you do not connect with sounds, you do not connect with whatever smell there is, no touch also, you do not connect with that unless and until somebody just shakes you out of sleep. Yeah, right. So he said that it is very important to understand this vritti, because it is very similar to the state of samadhi, where at least, all the initial things which require you to reach samadhi, pratyahar normally takes place, and then the mind is in a position where it is easily able to get connected to an object. Basically, when all the senses are withdrawn, then you can easily go into dharna, right? Concentration. So he said, just there is just one difference. In the state of sleep, you do not know. There is no, you know, awareness of when you are in the state of sleep. But in samadhi, there is a state of awareness that is. Okay. So that is what he tried to explain when he was touching upon the sutra in sleep. Like, in very simple terms, this is what he was trying to explain. And you will start becoming much more aware. Like, when you start practicing yoga, you will see how you are much more aware in your sleep also. That also sometimes happens, that your level of awareness increases so much that you are very much in sync with whatever is happening when you are sleeping. Okay, so new homework for you guys. So next time, like with practice, like now it's been a while since you are practicing, so just try to observe how you feel when you sleep. That would be a good observation. And as you proceed on your journey, just see how your sleep is, how you're working on your sleep, what changes you are experiencing. So this you can continue for a very long time. It's not necessary that you do it right now only. As you progress on your journey, you can keep a tab of this thing. It will be very helpful for you. Okay. So any doubts in this one?
No.
Okay. So let me proceed with the last one. He said Smriti. Smriti SMRITR. Smriti. So then he finally reaches the last vritti and he says that memory is also another mental modification that is taking place. So he described memory as something like, suppose something happens in your life, okay, and you are not able to let go of that experience. Let go in the sense, in your mind, that experience is constantly playing again and again. That is why what I mean when I say that you are not able to let that impression slip by, that experience slip by. So when you're not able to let go of that experience, that thing which remains with you, that impression, that vritti is actually called memory. Okay, so sometimes people have really bad memory, so they are easily able to forget. Like suppose even I have this thing, so whenever something happens with me, like, or there is some, like, someday maybe I enjoyed a lot, okay, and after a few days I will just, sometimes it does happen, and my family members really, like, want to hit me hard for this thing, that how could you forget. And I'm just like, but uh I'm not able to remember those things, but it does happen. So when you are able to let that thing, like, when that thing um is removed from your mind, so it doesn't form a memory, okay, and you're not able to remember it. So that thing is not being formed. However, sometimes we do end up remembering a lot of things, so random things which maybe, which we experienced, but we still remember them. No matter how short the moment was, or how many years pass, sometimes that memory does not go away, right? And that is the part he is talking about. And sometimes when you remember it for a while and then it escapes, then that point is like, till then it was in the form of a vritti where you are not able to let go of the experience, and then when naturally only it fades away from your memory, you're not able to remember it, then it, like, just then you do not call that thing a memory, because no matter how much you try, you won't be able to remember that, right? So he said that even this is a modification of the mind when you are keeping something with you, any experience or any information, that thing, whichever thing that happened, you have you are holding on to some part of it. So it is constantly going on in your mind. And especially this happens with memories a lot. So when we remember them again, we ourselves modify something in the story. So this I have seen with myself also, and with a lot of other people also. Suppose there is one same incident which is always repeated when certain people meet. Okay, so suppose a group of friends will meet, and they will remember one or two memories will be such that they will remember it whenever they meet. However, each and every time they will themselves modify that thing. Like whatever story they are narrating, there would be some modification in that story. Some additional detail or some subtraction of detail will take place. So every time you re-narrate something, uh, there is again a modification that takes place in that same story. So X thing happened, but by the end of it, like it becomes something else only. So Y, Z, A, B, C, it becomes that thing. So that is, I think that game, Chinese Whisper, is a very good example of this thing. Like every time you remember a memory, then I think in that game you sit in a circle and you just say something to the other person, and then they pass on that message. And after the loop is completed, suppose uh, the other person like tells me back the same thing, I started the chain. And when that message comes back to me after that loop is completed, it is completely different. That is actually what happens in the case of memories also. There is constant modification that is also taking place when you re-narrate something in your life. So the message that you started with and the one that comes back to you, there is huge contrast in both those things. So he said that, uh, and in Vrittis also he went step by step. See, so when he said right knowledge, wrong knowledge, then he came into much more like in a much more subtle form where he used imagination. Then deeper, he went deeper, and he said, now come to sleep. This is also where you will see the impact. And then he came to memory, which is actually it is a very subtle level, like memory, right? After years and years also people remember certain things. There would be very small details that they remember, but they do. So he went into, like with the vrittis, he went into a very deep state of mind. Like, so when we talk of memory, we are talking of a very deep state of mind where the memory is stored, right? So with explaining the vrittis, he also explained on what levels of mind you will be working, until what level yoga is going to, uh, help you or enhance you, because this is the level till which the vrittis exist. So this is how deep you are going to go when you are going to work on your vritti. So that is like, even in, like, the chapters are aligned and the sutras are aligned in a particular way, but even with each sutra, the way in which he has covered the depth of the entire, path of yoga, that is also quite commendable, the way in which he has explained these things. So he was again a very intelligent man to be able to put it in this way. He could have mentioned memory before, right knowledge, wrong knowledge. But no, he mentioned that at the end only in the five vrittis. It is mentioned in the first chapter only. So vrittis are mentioned in the first chapter, and I think like from the fifth, sixth sutra only the vrittis start. Yeah. So just when you begin the text, you will find the vritti. Because when he explained the meaning of yoga, he had to explain what vrittis were. So when he had to explain what vrittis were, he went in depth about like what he is talking about. So you will find one sutra each on like each vritti. Yeah. So we were on Raj Yoga, and then we came to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and then we have now completed vrittis also. So any doubts in vritti? Okay, great. So read up more about them. Okay. So okay. So let's move to the next part then. I told you that for, after he explains the vrittis, then immediately he gives the sutra where he gives the solution. So after he understood that this is done, now I've explained everything that I wanted to explain. Now let me start working. Immediately he went into the process of giving solutions. Okay. So he said Abhyas and Vairagya. This we have discussed in depth in one of the previous classes. Like when I was taking a class specifically on the Yoga Sutras, I discussed Abhyas and Vairagya in detail. Like what the qualities and characteristics of Abhyas are going to be, and what Vairagya is going to be. Like what does it mean when we talk of Vairagya? So anybody who wants me to repeat that? Oh, great. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now we are going to the next, yeah. So Abhyas and Vairagya, and that is for the advanced level student. Okay. Let's go to the next one where, I think Abhyas Vairagya we discussed in detail. Then comes Kriya Yoga. So when he starts the second chapter, he mentions first the five afflictions or klesh. He mentions the five kleshas, and then he talks of uh, Kriya Yoga. For an intermediate level student, what is the practice that can be adopted is Kriya Yoga. Again, I discussed this in depth in the class of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, so you can go on YouTube and watch that one. If you have doubts or if you want me to repeat right now, just unmute yourself and let me know.
Can you just say briefly the Viagra, the definition, just very briefly?
Yeah. Vairagya is, I will write this down also. This is actually detachment.
Okay, thank you.
So he has given a lot of relevance to being detached from the results of whatever you are doing, and this is a quality which you develop also with time. And for some people it so happens that they do not need to go through the experience to give up something. So sometimes what happens is some people are not able to experience something, so they are just like, let me experience this thing, and then I will not, like, not indulge too much into this thing. So suppose somebody likes to, eat like sweets. So I tell that person that, okay, you should try this Indian sweet. It is very good. So uh, there would be two people. So let me take the example of two people. So one person would want to taste that thing, and after that, that person would say, I know eating too much sweets is unhealthy for me. So let me just taste it and then I will not. But I need to gain the taste of that sweet to get an understanding of what you are talking about, why you are appreciating this sweet so much. But you will find certain people who are in a higher form of vairagya where they do not need to experience that thing in order to come out of it. Because of their past meditation, their past karmas, or their past lives, however much hard work they have put in, they do not want to experience that thing. They are like, it doesn't bother them. So some people have this modern term called FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. So this is seen a lot in like today's like younger generation. They feel this a lot. So an entirely different term came out for this, FOMO. Yeah, but somebody who has done a very deep sadhana, when they like take birth, so they are naturally able to leave certain things without experiencing them. So that is a higher form of viragya, where you do not need to experience something in order to leave it. There is a very famous story in this regard. So, like, I do not remember the name of the king. However, there was a king, and like in Siddhartha Gautam's time. So when he became Buddha, there was a particular king who heard that he, had attained enlightenment, and he had this intense desire to go and take that knowledge from Buddha himself, and he was actually in town at that point of time. So he was just like, let me go and, you know, receive this knowledge. I have heard so many people getting liberated because of what he's teaching, so I should also. So the king, he booked a cart and everything, and the person who was driving the cart, so from his kingdom till where Siddharth Gautam was, the cart driver, he took him from his kingdom to where Siddharth Gautam was. And when reached that point where he was, so before entering the ashram, what the king did was, so king in India, when you see, like in history also, when you see, kings used to wear a lot of jewelry. Okay. So the king was wearing some jewelry, right, when he left his kingdom. So he did not take off everything. So when he reached Siddharth Gautam, so he was just like, what will I do with all of this? So what he did was, he took off that jewelry and he gave it to the cart driver. And he said, you keep this, you are already like very poor. So your whole life will, and used to wear very, like, a lot of jewelry and very valuable. Okay, so the king used to, of course, used to wear very valuable jewelry. So when he took it off and he gave it to the cart driver, he said that you are very poor, and your whole life and next generation will also survive on this only, whatever this jewelry is. That is how valuable it is. And he started to go inside, and that is when the cart driver, like, he looked at the jewelry and he was just like, I do not need this, because if a king, if a person of that position, that valuable position, is ready to give up all the wealth he has seen in so many years of his life, he is ready to give them up for something that Buddha is teaching. So the teaching of Buddha, he was immediately able to understand how valuable the teaching of Buddha was going to be, much more valuable than the ornaments that the king gave him, because he immediately understood that if the king is willing to give away all of this, then what is the point of even acquiring wealth? So he had that level of meditation or past karma, maybe his past karmas were that good, that he never felt the need to experience the wealth that he was given. And he did not ask for it, he was given by the king. He never felt that need. He left that behind, and then he went to Siddharth Gautam, and I think he was liberated. Like, I don't exactly know how the story ended. I think he got liberated at the end. But just understanding, it just takes a moment to understand that thing. And he understood in that moment. So he was at a higher level of Vairagya, where he did not need to experience any of it. There was no desire only to experience. So with Vairagya, what happens is your desires start getting, I would say, you come out of desires. You do not suppress them, you do not act on them, you just start coming out of desires. So that is even Patanjali ji has mentioned two forms of Vairagya, out of which um, one is lower and the other one is upper, the one on which I narrated the story. So that is a very high level of Vairagya or detachment in general. Okay, so let me check. Okay, we're almost out of time. Okay, so even Kriya Yoga I have discussed in depth. After that, now main thing that we have to talk on is Ashtanga Yoga. So I will be explaining each and every limb to you. So let me write down all the limbs for you, and then we'll end today's session. Tomorrow I will elaborate on each and every limb. Okay. Yam Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, no, Dharna, D. Wait, I'm just writing that down. Wait, this is autocorrect. Dharna, yeah, thank you. Dharana. Dhyan, Samadhi. So I'll spell all of them out for you. Yama is Yama. Then we have Niyam, Niyama. Then we have Asan, Asana. Then we have Pranayam, Pranayama. Then we have Pratyahar, Pratyahar. Then Dharna, Dharana. And we have Dhyan, Dhyana. And last is Samadhi, Samadhi. So I have only written these names right now. Tomorrow when I go in detail, then you can write down the English uh, equivalent of this also. For today, just write down these names only. Okay. Because I'll be explaining each and every one in depth. So that is when I think it will be better if you write the English translation then. Okay. Any doubts in today's class? Anything you did not understand? Anything you want me to address, elaborate on? Okay.
Thank you.
So for a beginner level student, this is what we will discuss.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I thought there was some doubt. Okay. So tomorrow we'll begin with this Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. So let's end today's session. Back and neck straight. Just gently close the eyes. We'll chant Om one time, followed by 3 Shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Shan. Shan. Shanti. Join both the palms together and rub both the palms. Place them on the eyes. And very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open up your eyes, come back with a smile. And namaste to everyone. I will see you all in the evening for your pranayama class. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.